Hi, and welcome to a special mailbag episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. I'm Adam, and with me today are Casey, Miaca, and Megan. And we have decided to sit down and do another one of these pop culture answer the questions because it went so well for the Game of Thrones.
It went so well for that one.
So well. So we're sitting there. We got a bunch of questions, 20 of them, because it's a mailbag, from Matt Williams. I assume that Williams is short for Williams. But on Instagram, he's always sending us stuff for the mailbags.
Love it.
And he got all excited about us doing the Mummy series. And then I have a feeling like there's more coming. There's like of these pop culture, like, hey, what's your opinion of this and how's this going to tie into D&D and so on and so forth. So,
yeah.
Buckle up. We're doing this now.
Hey man, movies are my thing.
They're my thing too. And I feel like movies became everybody's thing during the lockdown. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, everyone has bad taste. So we're gonna learn you.
Not bad taste.
Oh yes, bad taste. Anyway, we got 20 questions in front of us about the Mummy. We're gonna roll initiative a handful of times throughout, and we're going to do our best to answer these. We make no guarantee. We are not film critics.
No.
We did not take. Did anybody take notes for this?
No.
Okay.
No, sure
cool.
didn't.
So,
mostly going in blind.
yeah, it's a D&D podcast that recently covered mummies. So we're doing the Mummy. So anyway, let's grab dice and roll initiative,
All right.
and start working our way down this list.
Yes.
Yellow like my belly.
9.
9.
All right.
I rolled a 1, guys.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
I'm first?
so Casey's first with a 13, then me, then Miaca, then Megan. So
Love that for me.
All right.
Yep. So you're reading out the questions first, Megan.
Amazing. I'm so excited for myself. All right, question the first. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy the series as a whole? And just to give you a recap for the Mummy series, there is The Mummy of 1999, The Mummy Returns, The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, The Scorpion King, and The Mummy 2017.
We're not including the 4 sequels to The Scorpion King that were all direct to DVD.
I'm not going to lie to you. I think I watched like half of the second one that came out for Scorpion King, and I'm like, this is dumb.
Well, it's not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, so I don't
What
care.
is the
Yeah.
point?
Right.
Yeah.
What am I even doing here?
That shit.
So scale of 1 to
Yeah.
10.
Okay, so I would say when they first came out, I didn't really give too much of a shit. I enjoyed it because it was because of Brendan Fraser, but I would give it maybe a 5 then. However, I digress. I rewatched them more recently, and I really thought they were awesome. I'm giving them an 8. Thoroughly entertained.
I saw every single one of them except the reboot in theaters.
Yeah.
And did not regret a second of it except for that god-awful Scorpion King CGI.
Yeah.
When the Rock, or there's a pre-golem, the Rock comes out with the most plasticine face.
It's so bad.
That was that and the Mortal Kombat Annihilation were the only 2 times I've sat in a theater and gone, holy shit, this is painful. As far as CGI goes.
Fair enough.
All right. So I saw the first 2 movies. I've never seen the last 2. Adam refuses to watch them with me.
It's true. There's a consistent downhill spiral.
But that's the point, though.
Mm-hmm. I would give the first 2 an 8. Honestly, I mean, like I feel like they're.
I didn't give a number. Yeah, solid 8.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That was the question.
Who wrote this episode?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, like, what am I trying to say?
I don't know, but face the mic while you do it.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to think. I give it an 8.
8. Solid 8.
There you go.
Phenomenal.
You're welcome.
I have watched them all except for the Scorpion King nonsense, and then 10 out of 10 would fuck every character. Like,
That's not the question, Megan.
The question for that question is all the way to the bottom.
We're getting
sorry, I'm
there.
going in blind. No, 10, honestly, like, I remember watching it in the theaters with my dad many, many, many years ago, and
How old were you?
I don't remember. In 1999, I would have been 11 years old.
Fuck me, I'm old.
Yeah.
I was little.
Yeah. So it was like
6,
11,
7.
12. Yeah. So,
Jesus, Miaca.
and like,
yeah.
it inspired all of my art when I was a child.
Oh yeah.
Like, for a long period of time, I was obsessed with the Mummy and the movie and like the scenery and like Egypt. And like, I just went through a phase where I just loved everything about the Mummy. So like 10 out of 10 formed my adulthood.
Amazing.
Do love.
I did not know that about you.
Well, listen to the podcast more.
Shit.
All right, question the second. If all the main characters in the series were D&D classes, what would they be? So, to remind you of some of the main characters, there's obviously Rick, played by Brendan Fraser. Evie, don't remember the actress's name.
All right.
Jonathan, Ardith, which is the protector guy, Benny, and Imhotep. I like how we did not put an Aksunamun in here.
Yeah, no, and an Aksunamun. There we go.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. I added it. What do you think, Casey?
Okay, well, I'm not gonna roll through all of them.
Pick some favorites and go for it.
Yeah, this was quite hard. Like, cause like to start with Rick, he's like the easiest thing to say is he's a fighter, but he actually doesn't do that much fighting.
And it's also the high charisma for me that throws me off of fighter and barbarian sometimes.
Yeah, but like he doesn't necessarily like go into kind of rages. So I was like, well, I don't know if barbarian fits either. So yeah, I was torn on that one. Evie for sure, like a wizard.
She spends her time in the library. Yeah, that makes sense.
In the first movie, I would say, but it kind of evolves. But we'll get there.
And it kind of like evolves like her magic capabilities are born into her, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thirdly, I'll say Jonathan is totally a bard.
100%.
Yeah.
Here's your inspiration because I'm not doing it.
I looked at them all as actually different kinds of rogues.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they just run around. First of all, they're tomb raiding. Second of all, they're setting off traps left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And third, they're consistently stealing from each other and other people and barely getting away by the skin of their teeth. And like they've all taken levels in rogue. Benny is a rogue.
Yeah, Benny's rogue.
And of course, Imhotep is a sorcerer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Born magician.
Well, he's got all the clerics around him, and he didn't have any magic powers until he came back, right?
Yeah.
So they infused him with it. So it's part of who he is. Is Ardith a fighter? I'm assuming he's just a fighter, like a cavalier.
Yeah, I would say so.
Because as much as like he's in the Magi, and you would think that means magic powers, but he never does anything magical.
No, the whole purpose is to protect the magic, not be the magic.
And then, well, I mean, there's also the reboot. We didn't. You notice we didn't mention Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise, everyone in that is definitely a rogue. Yeah. All they do is steal. That's it. Like it starts off with them stealing shit and then getting in trouble and having to steal more shit and then being upset and then stealing more shit. Like that's what that is.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Is it fair to say that Ardith has like rogue-like qualities?
I mean, he's quick on his
feet. He's a swashbucklerish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like very stealthy.
Yeah, for the stealth
like
side of it.
Like one level in Rogue. Yeah.
He caused surprise.
Yeah.
At a time.
Mm-hmm. But that does go back to your point. Like, I feel like they are all just a different type of rogue.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that they're all a different type of bard. Like, you could almost go that way, too.
Just because they're all incredibly attractive does not mean they're all bards.
It's the charisma. Okay?
Yes.
All of them are strangely charismatic. Don't give me that sass.
I would see Evie as like a little bit of a warlock. Now we all know I like warlocks, so I'm thinking like warlock. What's the other one?
Hey man, in the second movie, she did make a pact to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Like I think she multi-classed as the shows went on.
Accidentally fell into oops. Read a thing I shouldn't have read, but here we are now. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the same thing with the Mummy, the 2017, like Tom Cruise's character.
Oh, he absolutely.
He moved into warlock hard at the very end.
Yeah. That's what you have. What's what happens when you fight like a fucking 3-eyed demonia. Like, sorry, was it double irises or whatever it was?
It was double eyes.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
double
Irises.
pupiled or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cute. Like, I don't know why they probably spent thousands of dollars on that when you can buy those contacts for $9.95 at Halloween.
They
Like,
also, because they had to remove it when they released the movie in China.
did they?
Yes. So they actually had to go back and re-edit the whole movie to edit it out. So they just did the edit. So they basically filmed the movie and edited it in for
I have a
us.
question. Why?
Because there's just things in China that they don't like.
Okay. I just wonder, like, what's the cultural significance of the double pupil?
Demonia,
Is that what it is?
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there's all kinds of things. Like, you can't reference things like skulls, death. Like, there's a lot that you can't represent in film and pop culture stuff. Yeah. You're welcome for that little tidbit of info.
Yeah. Sounds expensive from a movie.
It is very expensive from a movie standpoint. It was not worth it for that film, I will tell you that right now.
It's like y'all are working too hard for this.
Yeah,
movie.
too
Just
fucking
a
hard.
bit too hard.
All right. Question the third. What was your own personal favorite scene or scenes in the original trilogy? Casey.
The reveal of the no.
The reveal of the Scorpion King.
It was potentially the most comedic.
Oh my god.
I got no far enough. You knew what I meant. I can't even say it. Well, I think my favorite scenes was when they.
The Rock took his shirt off.
Well, always. I mean, it's my favorite of all. And he can do no wrong. Like the scene in the original trilogy. Always, I think the most. Okay, the first movie. I'm getting there. I really enjoyed how they portrayed the reveal of the mummy, like, coming out of the case. And then it was kind of just strolling about, and people just came across it. And it just, like, did horrific things.
Yeah, he's like, man, I am the shit. Like, all y'all wearing clothes are the weird ones.
Yeah. And I think at the time, like, I hadn't seen any sort of, like, fuckery and creepiness like that in a show before.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, this is horrific and scary, but it's also comedic. Because then it was, like, just standing, and if it could, like, breathe, it was, like, breathing on the back of her neck, and then she's like, holy fuck! And then Rick comes in and is like, what the fuck? So I was very entertained by that.
Yeah, very fair.
I think my favorite scene was, okay, I've quoted it more often than any other part of any of the other movies, is hey Benny, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river.
Yeah.
You took mine.
Right. That is
Did.
for the longest time, whenever somebody tried to one up me on something and be like, hey Adam, looks like you fucked it up. Hey Dan, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river. And only Dave ever got that reference.
Oh my god.
For the longest time, for years. And so it was always particularly funny for myself. But with doing the rewatch, because we just recently rewatched the first two, when their son in the second one, when Alex accidentally knocks over all the columns,
Yeah.
and it is the exact same moment as Evie knocking over all the bookshelves
Yeah.
from the first movie, I went, oh, there was some
Oh,
intelligence that went
clever.
into this. Okay, so it's the parallels, which they didn't bother to do anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? None of the other movies had that. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. Same thing like the face in the sand, and then we get face in the water, right? In the wall of water in the second one. So
How
I
do we
don't
do
know.
the same thing but make it different?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was the question?
What is your favorite scene in the original trilogy or scenes?
So since you took mine, Adam,
You bitch.
Roll
second
higher.
one- the second one would have to be when Evie is drunk and she's like, I'm a librarian. And I'm going to kiss you now.
Evie's character is one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, I was like, me, hashtag me.
I was like, I identify hard with that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a favorite.
No, I was gonna say, I love a good enemies to lovers. We all know this. It's my favorite thing on the planet. And that was very much Evie and Rick's relationship.
Yeah.
So I love the weird, quirky romances that would happen between them. And how, like, yes, you probably think they're going to get together in the end, but, like, it was a long time to that payoff.
I gotta say, in the second one specifically, because she was recast for the third one, but
Yeah.
the second one specifically, they also felt like an established relationship. Like,
Yes.
she reaches for the thing, and he's walked by, just grabs her by the wrist without looking. Nope. And
Yeah.
Like, they know each other.
We gotta go, right?
Yeah.
And she could rely on him to do the certain things, right? And so they felt like like in an action adventure movie, one of the only couples that was a couple.
Yeah.
Right? Not even like Han and Leia. Like, we don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
They were very successful at the beats and what they were
Yeah.
required to do in their job, but
Yeah.
still had like a moment of like weird cutenesses. Love a good romance.
And like, I feel like Rick got introduced twice in the show, because when he gets introduced to Evie, it was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
No, I think I feel like my requirements in a relationship are too high because of their relationship. Like, that's what I want. That's relationship goals for me. But all right. Question the 4th. If you could change one plot point of the first movie, what would it be?
God, I hate going first.
Yeah.
I was like, not helping you. Yeah.
I would have given Ardeth more screen time.
Always.
Yes.
He's a great actor.
Phenomenal character,
And
too.
I feel like he was introed well, and it was like, ooh, that guy's great. And then he didn't play as big a part as I wanted him to through everything.
I think they accidentally cast an A-list actor in a B role. They're like, oh yeah, he's going to be some guy. These guys are just Jawas. They're going to sit in the background,
Yeah.
in the distance, and just be kind of vaguely threatening for a bit. And then they got someone with like legit acting chops and charisma. It's like, oh, this guy's a fucking star. Like,
Fuck, yes.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
I would change. They did not spend enough time on the plagues in the first movie.
Yeah. They sped through them really quickly.
Really quickly.
Yeah, like
and I
one
wanted to
after
feel
the
them.
other.
Yeah.
I wanted to really, really feel, because I'm sitting there and I'm counting them off, and they're like, the 10 plagues, and we only saw 7. Like, we never saw frogs, right? That was one of them we didn't see. And I mean, what's the other one? Is there something about firstborn? It's been a long time. Something about firstborn sons? Is that one of the plagues?
The last one is the firstborn son.
Yeah. So we never got to that. I would have saved that for the second movie. They got a firstborn son, make it scary, right? Like, maybe see the plagues play out a second time.
Yeah.
But I mean, you notice that all that shit was gone in the second one. He's just like, oh, and he's back.
Ta-da!
Yeah, we read for the book, and he's awake again. Don't. It's
There was
okay.
just the bugs.
Just the bugs.
Yeah, he's like, wave.
Yeah.
We tried this the first time. We're going to try something different.
Yeah, missed opportunity there, though, with the
Yeah.
sun.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. Something I would change. I do think that the first movie ended a bit abruptly. Like, once they were out, they were like, oh, big kiss at the end, now we're riding off into the sunset. I don't know, I feel like maybe we could have seen a little bit more. Maybe, like, do one of those, like, fast forwards into the future, like, maybe by 3 months, that could, like, lead into the next, movie.
But this was back before everything was a franchise, though.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, I don't think they're really expecting to make another one.
Mm-mm.
They're scrambling together like, oh, we can make a new storyline. It was so good. I would have liked to have seen more of Anck-su-namun. I feel like her character would have been a little bit more well played if she was present longer and made her more roguish and gave her more of a requirement other than just being the fridge character for Imhotep.
I liked everything she did in the sequel.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't enough. She just had an extra action scene, and then.
The fight scene in this, the fight scene in the second one was dope. The first one I loved because the fight scene between her and Evie was very much Evie was not a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, they rectified that and like gave a real fucking fight, right? So, all right. Question the 5th. How did the Mummy movies influence your own personal taste in fiction, fantasy, and adventure?
Okay, so I'll say initially it didn't have as much impact when I first watched these when they were coming out. It was like, I was entertained, but I was also not, I was very much into like more Lord of the Rings, that style, but I wasn't into D&D yet. But I would say my most recent round of watching them, like I was so inspired for stealing so much shit for D&D. I was like, this is incredible. How did I not remember this? So very inspired for D&D ideas.
I did not give a shit. I was a sci-fi kid. Through
Space.
Yep, all space, sci-fi.
And dinosaurs.
And dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the only real action adventure stuff that I gave a shit about when I was a kid was Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
So there wasn't really anything else like that. And then the more I started to think about it, the more I came to the realization that Star Wars is not science fiction. It's fantasy western in space. Because they don't bother to explain anything and there's no science in it. So it's just fantasy nonsense.
What about midi-chlorians?
I think you struck a nerve.
Yeah.
And once again, my role here is to piss off the internet as much as possible. And I think I've done that successfully today.
I don't know what episode it was, but it was in the first 20 or so where I reached across the table and slapped Dan for doing that exact same joke.
Ooh.
So
Big Dan energy.
yeah. Honestly, I didn't really think much about it. I loved the Mummy movies, but again, they were their own little thing.
It was like its own weird niche, yeah.
And it wasn't until I started to pay attention to like horror movies in a big way in my mid-20s. Like I'd watch slashers and stuff, but I was never really passionate about it till I started working in a haunted house. And then I became very passionate about that. And then I started to do a rewatch of all the old Universal Monster. Like I've seen all of the black and white, all the old stuff. And then did a revisit on all the reboots and rebrands. And then I discovered the Mummy movies again. And I went, there's something here that we don't get to see that was a big part of the like cultural zeitgeist, the way that everyone was thinking about adventure back in the days of, you know, the pulp adventures in Indiana Jones is a throwback to, and Romancing the Stone is a throwback to, and all the like, the days of Tarzan, the days of Johnny Quest.
I'll say Johnny Bravo is a pivot.
Johnny Quest was another one, right? And the Hardy Boys, and there were some of these real adventure, Lost in the Desert books, and
The Goonies.
The Goonies is another great one, right?
Good
But
film, eh?
Yeah.
but like it made me stop and think about that, and then we ended up doing a giant desert campaign for a while in D&D, and like we've been in the sand for a while. A lot of that was because I want to play in the desert like the Mummy movies.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough.
Um.
How does it inspire you, Miaca, in your fantasy worlds?
how often do you fantasize about the Mummy is the question.
I don't. It hasn't really influenced me in my like adult life, but like after watching them, I can see that a lot of my characters are like some type of scholar almost, in addition to being like a princess. Like Purpose is a princess, but she's also like studying and like, you know,
Big Evie
learning.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think for Call of Cthulhu, one of my characters and then like the new campaign you're running, like she's a scholar, like she's been to school and like all that type of stuff. So yeah.
It's interesting because it's a trope, but not one that I can necessarily like. The girl that reads books and is a nerd is not. That is a trope in a lot of movies, but not in a lot of adventure movies.
Yeah.
Right? Evie was never a damsel in distress. Which
No.
was great.
Yeah.
Even when she was literally in distress, she was like, hurry up and get me, I have shit to do.
Yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be doing it. It's
Yeah.
the rescuing of the damsel in distress is basically just rescuing her from herself. It was never like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was never, I don't technically need you, but thank you for keeping me alive.
Yes.
Like I think I went off earlier. Like this, it was a big change in how I saw fantasy stuff when I was a kid. Because when I was very young when it came out. And like my dad was a big action movie person, so I would saw things and like weird movies too. So like I grew up with like Willow the Labyrinth and like all those other like, you know,
See,
Jim
I don't-
Henson movies.
Yeah.
I
and
don't
stuff
think
like
those
that.
are weird. Those are seminal.
I know,
Let's-
but like, but that's what we inspired by fantasy a lot was like a lot of Jim Henson and a
Yeah.
lot of like that kind of stuff. So when I saw this was the first thing that I watched where I was just mesmerized by the relationships the characters had and like how they were developed. The visuals were really cool. Like it was like ahead of its time in my brain when I first saw it when I was a kid. And like I was obsessed. Like I drew fan arts, I wrote fanfics. Like it was my first fandom, I think, outside of Dragon Ball Z and anime. Like
I gotta say, and points too for it being between World War I and World War II.
yeah.
We don't get a whole lot of shit in that era, right?
No.
And
True.
it was fun to see that as well. That's what wasn't wild about them time jumping later, right?
Yeah.
The first one specifically, I really like that. So that made me, especially because of Call of Cthulhu, take an interest in that period post the Great War as the Nazis are rising. I mean, Indiana Jones is set in that time period
Yeah.
too, right? So that made me think about that and want to learn more about it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my 5 questions.
Let's roll dice.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
Megan.
I know, I'm not doing very well.
19. Miaca, you're going second. Megan, you're reading more questions.
Okay. I can do it. I am a strong, independent girl. I'll channel my inner Evie. All right, question the 6th. Can you recall anything you absolutely hated about the originals or the reboot, and how would you change it if the movie was released in today's age?
What did I hate? I hated the writing in The Scorpion King. I hated everything about the reboot. Did I like anything about the reboot? The CGI was comparable to today's standards.
Yes.
It was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did a good job with that.
I like Penny Dreadful. I like it when they try to bring the monster verts together
Yeah.
on shit. So they had the, I forget what they would call it. It was the dark. Universal was trying to do a great big Mummy reboot, and so that's why Dr. Jekyll showed up in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one was going to be a Dracula one, and then a Frankenstein one. And they were all going to, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, get all the big classics together. And I liked that idea on paper. It felt weird shoehorned into the Mummy movie, and I did not fucking care for it at all. There's a lot I didn't like. The Scorpion King was poorly written, but highly entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of this stuff is just a victim of the time that it was released. Like, trying to be a part of a cinematic universe hurt the reboot. Trying to jump onto the CGI when the CGI was in its infancy hurt the couple of the sequels.
Hurt the Scorpion King, like
Yeah.
nobody's tomorrow.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the recasting of Evie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurt my soul.
You'll notice Brendan Fraser was not having fun in that movie.
Yeah.
Like, he was there doing his thing, but he was not in love with this moment.
No.
Right? And it's because he was returning to a character that was a little bit older, a little bit more jaded, and didn't have someone else to pull it out of him, right? To pull the charisma out. So he's still charismatic, but it wasn't the fucking same.
Yeah.
In the second one?
No,
There's
in the third one.
The tomb
Yeah.
of
Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of shit that I would do differently. I'll tell you one thing, though. I don't think I would recast it. I'd still have Brendan Fraser.
Oh, yes. I would never watch, I think that was my issue with watching any other Mummy movie, was that he was not in it. If he was not in it, I was not about it. But it destroyed that man.
Yeah, I know.
Also, I'm sorry. I love the second movie. I really do. Mummy Returns is great. But it suffers from the era of the early 2000s when every boy under the age of 12 was a precocious little imp that always had to have a one-liner and would turn to the camera and go, "Oh!" every time that he got put in his place. I'm like, "Oh, you fucking Anakin Skywalker, son of a bitch."
That's exactly what
So-
Get out of here,
I
Anakin.
got,
Yeah.
So, and I feel bad because
and
that...
it looked like him too.
Yeah. And I feel bad because that actor quit acting. He doesn't act anymore. That kid, turned 13 and was like, "Nah, I'm done."
Oh.
So...
That's sad.
Yeah, but yeah, it was... the Mummy movies are perfect snapshots of what was going on in
That
the
time.
industry in that time, right?
Yeah.
Miaca, you were
My
second.
turn.
What'd you hate?
I had a strong dislike for the boy as well in the second one.
Take the children out of my action movies, please.
Like, we could have had a great movie with,
I'm trying to
Evie.
perv on these movies. Get to the children now.
There you go.
Like, this is not pulling on my heartstrings.
To be fair, they partnered him up with the least sexy character in the show, Betty, and then that was the end of it. Not Betty, Jonathan. Him and Jonathan
Yeah.
were buds, and so I was like, okay, well that removes them from my brain. Phenomenal.
Like,
But-
those
Fast
three,
forward.
those three are I just want to see a movie with them. Evie, Rick, and Jonathan. We don't need the kid running around and...
It was nice to see him for the establishment of the character, but then yeet.
It's like,
Right?
okay, time passed and they're still together.
They
That's
put-
all.
They should have put a gag in his mouth and just let him be the thing that needed to get rescued. For the whole
Damsel in
movie.
distress, yeah.
Mhm. Well, he
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Yeah, but he talked a lot.
Yeah. He,
Well, every time he was captured, which I think was a couple different times, he was kind of buddies with his captor, or like trying to befriend or like was an annoying child. But they didn't even really react that poorly to him either. It was like, oh, you're just an annoying kid. It's kind of just fluff.
Love it.
Casey?
Well, in the reboot, no, not the reboot, I guess it was the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, I really hated the adult son.
Oh,
The
fuck.
version of the son.
He did not grow up the way I thought he was going to grow up. Yeah.
And, like, I know, like, you could predict that storyline so easy as that, yeah, he's the rebellious teen following the same footsteps, but, like, estranged because of blah, blah, blah. But I just couldn't connect, didn't relate. I just thought he didn't really add anything to the whole thing. It could have easily been Rick and Evie, like, doing exactly what he did.
And he did not need to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they tried too hard to give him character traits from both parents, that it was hard for him to have his own fucking personality.
Yeah, like he didn't.
Yeah, so...
And too much time building sandcastles. Fuck. Like, I remember being that age, and my sandcastles were just mounds of dirt. That's it. There might have been, they look vaguely like a volcano because I put a hole in the top of it. Like, these kids were, he was good at everything he did, and it was annoying.
Yeah, and, like, the love interest thing, too, was so forced. I felt like, in that whole scene, too, I was just like, oh.
But that's the thing, is, like, because you're so obsessed with the romance that was, like,
Yes,
the perfect romance between these two, and you're like, this does not compare.
It was like they were trying to repeat it with the next generation, and it just didn't
work.
I low-key believe they were trying to pass the torch. I thought that they were...
I thought they were going to make a trilogy based on the next two characters. Yeah. And then it just flopped. But I didn't actually look into whether that was going to be. But I had that feeling. Was that they were trying to set it up for another trilogy. But, oh well.
Megan, what'd you hate?
Honestly, not a whole lot. I can find a reason to love every aspect of these movies, except for the fact that there was a child in one of them. But that was fine. I understand the necessity of having the child there. But yeah, I think like the only one that I would say that I would want to like see redone and done better would be the Dragon Emperor one, because I feel like that was a lot of missed opportunity in that one to use. Like they used some history, but like in such a strange way, and like I wish that they dug more into like the actual area they were exploring, kind of like Egypt, right? I didn't feel like we were exploring the place that we were supposed to be navigating because this thing is in the world, right?
I also feel like, okay, so I often compare it against the Indiana Jones, because Indiana Jones is largely doing the same kind of archaeology shit. So anyway, the Indiana Jones did the movie in the desert, then the movie, in India and the Temple of Doom, and then back in the desert again. If the Mummy had broken up Imhotep to be in the third movie, the second one wouldn't have felt weird. Yeah. But it felt like we had these two perfect movies, and now we're going to try to do this other thing over here with kind of the same characters.
But that's the thing.
And a couple of the same actors.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it did feel tacked on instead of it being, like, another chapter in the story.
Yeah.
Right?
But I did enjoy the idea that they were going to explore other... like... empires and things like that, and like like mummification and bringing the dead back was common in many different types of areas of the world. So I enjoyed the fact that they wanted to do that, but it felt like they just weren't successful in making you feel like you were there. Whereas in the Mummy, you felt like you were in Egypt exploring tombs and you were immersed. This just felt chopped up as fuck, and like they were just throwing shit in there for the sake of throwing it in there. Yep. But anyways, question the 7th. From a DM's perspective, have you ever used the Mummy as influence in your own games around your tables?
Yep. The pygmies in the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are kobolds.
You bitch. Fair enough.
Yeah, but kobolds are halfway between those things and Ewoks for me a lot of the time. When I just need generic small creature in the jungle doing guerrilla warfare, yeah, I'll lean on that. As far as the actual Mummy and the curses and everything else, I did a bunch of curses with hags.
We love curses.
Yep. Yeah. But I am not going to talk about my plans for the future in our campaign.
How dare you?
Not with you guys.
That's fair. Miaca.
Oh, it is my turn. I would say Maybe not in game, but I need people like the characters from The Mummy around the table. Like, I need a Rick character. I need an Evie character.
You need some comic relief. You need some
Yeah.
romance. You need, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do we have that at our table?
I mean, there's some comedy and there's some fucking, but because you killed my romance. Wait, we have a new romance.
Yes, we
Miaca's
do.
romance,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
We also have Casey's
Forgot
low-key
about him.
romance that's going on as well.
That's fucking. That's not a.
It's an arrangement.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love it.
We play a very PG themed game.
Surprisingly.
You know what? Yeah, we fade to black a lot.
It's all for Dan's sake.
That's true.
Everybody else is fine, but, you know, anything stronger than a rated G. And
Don't want to scare the man.
Yeah.
What about you, Casey?
I haven't really, but tacking this with covering mummies and mummy lords and the undead series, I absolutely want to even make like an awesome one shot around this. And how in the first one, when they divide up like organs into the different jars and stuff, like we talked about that as well in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love all that. It's like, Tess, go find her heart in this whatever the fuck place.
Yeah, we talked about the
So-
mummy a lot. We got halfway through that episode before I even mentioned the mummy, though, so I will say I was very proud of myself.
And then derailed the rest of the episode.
It's what I do, Adam.
But yeah, so I haven't, but I'm very, very much inspired from the last few months of us doing this.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I have not done like an Egypt themed campaign, and I haven't really like pulled from any inspiration other than to build your basic PC characters or what have you, and using personality traits. But like, I really want to build like Anubis warriors, but are just using like the decked out skeletons and stuff like that. Like, just use the undead, but theme them with the mummy.
Yeah.
Would be delightful.
I don't think it was the Mummy Lord, but it was... I should know what other monster it was. The one that had the circlet that it wore and it
controlled the other
Mm-hmm.
undead.
Yeah, like Miaca, I feel like you need a character to do that. And like your princess phase, it's like, yes.
No.
Yes.
She needs a tiara, okay?
Yes, I do. I do.
And why not throw a few undead?
Let's take a
we
vote.
know they're coming down the line.
You are not playing Accra anymore.
Oh, man. All right. Question the 8th. Can you recall your expectations about this movie series before your very first time watching them? If so, what are they?
No. Oh, it's not my turn.
No.
Like, yeah, okay. So I went and saw the first one when I was 16 and I was on a date, so my expectations were very low for the movie. I was not paying attention much to it the first time I saw it.
Ooh.
However,
Adam.
because I was a 16-year-old boy, I just could not focus on the thing in front of me. I do remember my expectations because I didn't see the reboot until about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And my expectations were so low.
This is going to be shit.
Yeah. And I managed to meet every one of my expectations.
There you go. I love that for you.
For me, no. Honestly, I can't even remember when I first watched The Mummy. It must have been like on TV or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was pretty young when it came out, so I wasn't like, it wasn't my thing, but probably watched it in the early 2000s and was like, oh, this is great.
I just remember that I had the poster of it in my bedroom when I was like 16.
I did too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, like, I don't even like remember it being like a big like phenomenon or whatever.
It wasn't necessarily that it was like my favorite movie by a damn sight. It was just like the marketing for it was everywhere.
And it was really cool looking.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Also, I was on first name basis with the guy that ripped tickets. He was this little old man that ripped the tickets at my little, like, back before multiplexes, so the little theater.
Yeah.
And he would, like, hand us movie posters all the time
Yeah.
when they came down. And a lot of the promotional stuff. One time I came home with a life-size cutout of Hugh Grant from some movie. I don't know what movie it was. They
Nice.
just had, like, a life-size cardboard cutout. I walked in the front door and my mom was like, what the fuck is this?
None of your business, Mom. What about you, Casey? Expectations?
I don't think I really had any. It wasn't necessarily on my radar. My family really did like watching lots of action shows, and so I think probably the first time I saw them was like at home when
Yeah.
it was finally like we could go to Rogers and get the VHS.
Not Jumbo Video or like...
No, specifically Rogers Video. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, this is new out. Let's watch this.
5 movies for $5 for 5 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now we pay up the wazoo for Netflix.
Yes.
I did not have any expectations going into it when I was a children's. I just thought it was another action movie Dad was taking me to, so I didn't really give a what. Became obsessed with it. And even though the subsequent movies that came out after it weren't as good, they still struck a chord with me where like it fit my expectations
Yeah.
as to what I was going into. Weirdly enough, the only one that I did not see in theaters was the Dragon Emperor one.
Really?
And I recently saw that one recently. About 3 months ago, Rome and I went on a Jet Li kick where we just watched multiple Jet Li movies.
Did you watch the one?
Yes. It was a full day of back-to-back Jet Li, and the movie...
Lethal Weapon 4? Because that is low-key a beautiful movie.
I refuse to do the Lethal Weapon movies. I stayed away from them, unfortunately. But the first movie we watched was the Dragon Emperor from The Mummy, because I was like, we talk about this a lot on my podcast. I would like to watch this. And I went into it with really, really low expectations, and it met those expectations.
Yeah.
So...
I gotta ask, because we've mentioned now, like, oh, it's a movie with my dad. What were the movies? What was the series? What's your dad's series? What's the thing that your dad watched with you? What was the thing?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Interesting.
Well, but like that was a movie series, and we've had this conversation before in like a mailbag many, 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 many years ago.
Yeah.
Like, yes, the series that I watched with Dad was Star Wars, but like the movies that like our family rewatches when we're together is Willow, Labyrinth,
Yeah.
like all those little ones.
Oh,
But
yeah, look, my dad, I grew up on James Bond and Star Trek.
yeah,
But when I go over to the house, before Dad died, we were watching Airplane and Police Academy and... Oh, Police Academy. Oh, shit. Low-key, the best theme song.
amazing.
And the worst
Pink
movies.
Panther. My dad
Yes.
loved Pink Panther.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I love that. Dads.
I wonder what Dan's kids are going to say about him. What will the movies? Probably Marvel. Everybody
Every
now, it's all
Marvel.
going to be Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay. there
Dad
we
showed me Marvel movies. Yeah, that's nice.
go.
Good for you, Tim.
Tim.
I'm sorry, good for you, Thor. Like,
No one's named Tim anymore. Like, that's just...
yeah, we
I
moved
just
on from
realized
Tim to Thor.
You know,
Magneto.
we gave up Roberts and Johns for Aidens and Jadens and Cadens.
that.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah.
All right. Question the 9th. Should the Mummy series ever get lined up for a release to a new generation? Basically, a complete series reboot, in other words. Who would you cast as the main characters and why?
I feel like we answered that, but I would just recast them all the same way. Like, they're older. I'm cool with that.
I came up with a whole new list.
Oh, did you?
I did. Vin Diesel as Imhotep.
Just because they're bald.
Yeah.
Zac Efron
I'm out.
as Rick.
I'm out.
I'm listening.
No.
Mila Kunis as Evie. And, like, was it Jason Momoa
Yes.
As the Scorpion King.
as the Scorpion King?
Perfect.
Oh, he would also make a good Ardith.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely would too. Yeah. I recently saw a little video of him.
Jack Black is Jonathan.
Yes, Jack Black would make a really good Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a fun one. Question the 10th. If you use something like an Egyptian Book of the Dead in your campaign, how would you keep it hidden and guarded?
Well, you see, I did this. I had a Necronomicon in my campaign.
What a strange concept.
Yeah, and so I did keep it hidden. One half of it was down a hole, which killed a character and traumatized everybody else there, because a death tyrant murdered you guys. And you did come across the other half of the book, but the deal was, the way that I was able to keep things separate was our necromancer got her hands on all of the spells and that part of the Necronomicon, but none of the lore behind the creatures. And our rogue investigator got his hands on all of the lore and all of the details about what to expect with a vampire or a zombie or whatever. But the problem was that you weren't allowed to tell anybody else, because if you did, it would kill you outright. It was forbidden to share, and the book would know. So you could keep it on you, you could use it as a spellcasting focus, but you can't share it. Which means Dan was tortured for months watching everybody else systematically check off all of the boxes towards them falling into evil. Acra, I gave Dan a list of if Casey does these things, Acra will become a lich by the level 20. If Cora does these things, Megan will be a Death Knight by the end.
It was meant to be.
And he watched in horror as systematically everybody just fell one at a time.
I love that process hurt Dan.
Yeah.
Yes, he was thoroughly frustrated.
Yeah, and on top of that, every fucking day was this the day that Acra would just slit his throat and take the book.
Every moment.
Yeah.
And Cora's sitting there just like,
every day.
please don't. Today's not the day. We need this, man. I understand that you want to do it, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the best part was he knew what everybody else was falling into. He didn't know about himself at all. And so he's like, so what's the thing for me? And I'm like, I don't know, man. What's the thing going to be? And then 3 sessions from the end, he was taken by vampires and turned. He's like, oh, that was my fucking thing. Damn it.
Done and done.
For me, I think it would be interesting to see like the Dullahan guard some type of book. I don't know. It was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Because it's the
You've
fact
been
that-
obsessed with the Dullahan since you did that episode.
Yeah.
I hear about it once every 3 days.
Oh.
I don't know. I like that guy.
It's because he's all shoulders.
I think that's what it is.
We love an old shoulder, short king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like think about
Good with
it.
animals too. Rides a horse. Yeah.
I would save a horse, ride a cowboy. Ride a Dullahan.
Ride a horse.
There you go. That's my
Yeah,
answer.
you're welcome. I love it. What about you, Casey? How would you hide your Necronomicon?
You're right there.
Kind of answer. You're right there.
You're right there.
Yeah. Yup.
I don't know. I don't think I can come up with a specific one. Like, I think Adam did a great job when he did his and unexpectedly caused extra trauma.
Yeah.
It was not unexpected. It was meticulously planned. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was also when I went toe to toe with that bitch that was guarding the hole.
Megan? Oh, yeah.
Wow.
What?
You would go toe to toe with me. You know you'd lose.
Yeah, no, we were friends until the end.
And then we went toe to toe and died.
Yeah.
In each other's arms as you plunged to the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did go toe to toe with the Archmage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I won.
Yeah.
Well,
he
you
did.
guys were trying to get to the hole. And that's why I wasn't at the hole when she went down.
Yeah. Yeah, you were busy dueling and beating an Archmage who then ran away and got his comeuppances much later.
Love that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I have nothing else to add.
I don't know. I like the way that they did it in The Mummy with the old switcheroo, where they were looking for one specific book, but they ended up finding the opposite one because they switched them at some point in history, XYZ. So I like that idea, that the MacGuffin you're searching for ends up being the opposite of the MacGuffin you're searching for, and then you have to go on another quest to find the proper one.
Yeah,
But-
that was clever.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. So if I was going to use that trope, I would use that in a campaign. I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's roll dice again.
Yay!
I believe in you, Megan.
15.
5. Nat 20, and on the edge of the box. Roll off, Miaca. We both got 5s. I got another 5.
Oh my god.
Oh, you got another 5.
So many
What's happening?
5s.
18. And Miaca with another
What
5.
the heck?
Determined to get a 5.
What
All
is
right.
There you go.
Well, you're reading the questions out then.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
All right, here we go. Number 11, is Emotep a mummy lord or just a sorcerer with a case of dry skin?
Casey, you're first.
We kind of touched on this slightly. I feel like it was more down the sorcerer. There were several things that mummy lords do, if we're talking like D&D, that I thought more correlated with his love interest than him.
Yeah, because like his powers came to him because they were imbued into him because of nonsense that occurred. But I do feel like he is more of a mummy lord because of the jars and the way he was mummified, and that's how he was brought back, and the fact that those are technically his things that are going to bring him back to his full capabilities and full powers. Because it is written in like mummy lore history and some very famous mummy lords in D&D where they have followers that did this to them, and then that's how they became the mummy lord, and that is basically in my mind his story. So,
Right, but
I don't remember his name. I remember pronouncing it wrong in the episode 1,000 times too. It's a very specific mummy lord.
Oh, yeah.
Internet yell at me. It's fine, but
Octopot.
Octopot. Yes.
Yeah, we got there.
His story is Emetep's story.
It is.
Just without the love interest. But you could throw a love interest in there and you're done.
Now, so
But see, wait. So it was not his organs that went into the clay pots. It was hers. He was just thrown into the sarcophagus alive with the bugs.
But he was mummified and his organs were put into jars.
He was?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was the
His
ritual
jars
he
were
was
his.
doing
well, then how is he
with
still
her.
alive in the sarcophagus, scratching his name on?
I don't know, man.
Look, the reason that the reason that he is a mummy lord, and I'd have to look at the spell list to be sure, but I think it's divine spells, so he's not a sorcerer.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Nailed it.
And the spells line up real nice with the mummy movies, so
It's a nail in the sarcophagus there.
I don't get it.
Oh, Megan.
Good. Not explaining it to your child-sized brain.
What?
Oh.
Miaca? Sorcerer or mummy lord?
Sorcerer with dry skin. I have no respect for him.
He also has very dry skin, so I accept that answer.
He's just a nuisance. I don't like him.
Fair enough.
There you go.
All right,
Having
then.
a lot of I had more empathy for him the second time, when I watched it more recently. I was like, oh, he just wants his babe back.
Yeah, man, he's just out here for the love.
Yeah, you know what? Second movie, yeah, he was like,
The villain
they gave
was,
him a little bit more personality.
yeah.
He was a bitch in the second one. He got right up to Scorpion King. He was like, oh no, it isn't me. That guy. You got to go fight that guy over there. Because he was a punk. The moment he didn't have his powers anymore, he was a bitch.
He was.
But this is why I enjoy my smut novels, of the sense where the villain will destroy the world to save you, but the hero will destroy you to save the world. That's why we love a good villain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that was a nice sidebar. Next question.
All right. Have you used a group like the Magi in your campaign before, i.e. an ancient sect of guardian warriors?
Sorry, I'm still reeling from what you said about the villain destroying the world to save you. Does that make Star-Lord a villain in Infinity War? Because they almost got that gauntlet off of Thanos. But then because of Gamora, Star-Lord fucked it up.
Mm-hmm.
Is he
He
bad
would have
guy?
been bad. Well, his
No.
friends wouldn't have liked him.
Well, his friends were dust.
Well, yes, the hero will always choose to save the world over the girl, and then the villain will always choose to save the girl over the world.
I guess. Feel bad about Star-Lord then.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, what was the question, Miaca?
Have you used a group like the Magi in your campaign before, i.e. an ancient sect of guardian warriors?
I haven't yet, but I was recently inspired by some an undead trope of perhaps dwarfs that would come in handy as a group that would come to service and either be protecting or working on a specific area. Coming in a podcast later, that inspired me to use in the future. So more like, protecting an area, and come, and if the right person says the right things, they could get a lot of information. If not, it might just end up in a bit of a fight. We'll see. But not yet.
I feel like any campaign that has clerics has them in it. Anytime I've built a cleric in a campaign, they have a group of them that are going for the same goal, whether
Like
it's to
a horde.
protect something or what have you, right? So I don't think I've ever really used the inspiration specifically from the Mummy and the Magi, but I feel like I've used cults a lot, which can be transfused from that kind of a
Yeah.
theme.
I avoid cults. I avoid secret societies. I mean, Call of Cthulhu has them in fucking droves, so I get my fill there. But I tend to avoid it because it's real tropey. I've seen it a million times in D&D, and it's just one of those things, like, I just don't do Goblin Bandits anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I've seen it both sides of the screen. I'm done with it. I'm really, really, really bored of the secret society with the answer of all of the... Yeah, I mean, sure, if I need to give a lore dump, then I will have that, so my guys can torture the info out of somebody. No, I don't care. I don't want to do that anymore.
I'm out, he says.
Yeah, I'm done. I want you guys to know who the bad guys are long in advance and go, oh shit, yeah, we gotta get ready for that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of who's in the shadows pulling the strings.
The shadow knows.
Because it's not a mystery. Like it's the long-term puzzle of that, for me, I find boring because you slowly put the pieces together, and I will do a rug pull every once in a while. Do you remember in Castle Yim when Sinsler turned out to be sinister? And you guys were like, oh, wait a minute, he's a fucking bad guy the whole time?
Yeah.
And like, I've done rug pulls on that kind of shit, but I won't do big, bad, like, organizations that are operating in the shadows. Because the moment you figure out who it is, they're just an organization in the sunshine, right? Like, you know what you're up against now.
In the sunshine.
And the payoff never feels right at a D&D table for that. Feels good in a novel, feels good in a Call of Cthulhu game, doesn't feel right for high fantasy D&D, right? I'm not interested in that mystery.
Fair enough.
No.
Thanks, Miaca.
Good answer, Miaca.
Yeah, all right.
Nope, I'm
Well,
not.
I remember in the first ever campaign I played in, Adam, I had like something like that. It was called the Order of Measure, remember?
Yeah, but you guys were out in the open. You were a society that you
That's
were
true.
building. Like, it wasn't a secret society, right? There weren't really any secret societies. Anytime that there'd be like, oh, this guy's doing this illegal thing in the background, you would then go hunt the guy down and drag him to justice, or more likely leave his body in an alley.
That's true.
Right, so...
Amazing.
Yeah. We got a lot of work done.
Love that.
Oh, I'm reading. Alright, number 13. Is the Dragon Emperor a lich or just an undead wizard? I don't think I can answer this question because I have not seen that movie, but y'all go ahead.
It did not occur to me to think of him as a potential lich, but I feel like that's still a stretch. I feel like, I don't know, you needed to see more leading up to him being mummified in order to really know if he would be a lich. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't enough to denote that he was a lich.
Yeah, like he did bad stuff, but not enough.
Like he is.
He's a mummy lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
Next.
okay. Excuse me.
Yeah, that was an easy one. It's a mummy lord.
All right, 14. What class and role would you place Dwayne Johnson's Scorpion King in your D&D game?
Oh my. Okay.
I have the definitive answer for this, by the way.
Do you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have this mini.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Please show.
It's the Tlin Kali.
Baby.
Oh my god.
That is wild.
These are monsters. They're essentially scorpion centaurs, right? But from Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah.
Right, during that. I just happened to pull that mini years ago. It's sitting at Dan's house right now. You guys have fought it a couple of times. Just as and there's a bunch of monstrosities come out of the woodwork. I've used them as a drow sometimes. We didn't have enough, as a drider. We didn't have enough driders on the table. So, yeah, like that's the answer. It's Tlan Calli, Tlin Kali. So that's what it is. So
done.
Yep.
All right. 15. Do you find the People's Resistance storyline trope overused or unique enough to use multiple times? I'm not familiar.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, that was the whole storyline. The People's Resistance was, I'm thinking the Scorpion King is where we're getting this question from, because his whole deal was that he is rising up to, like, he's the bad guy in The Mummy Returns. In the Scorpion King, he's leading the People's Resistance against the evil emperor, right? So, like, that's the storyline. the idea of the uprising against the evil. I mean, I've seen that a million times. I don't.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not anything new, I guess.
No, I feel like the trope can...
Isn't that every Final Fantasy movie?
100%. So that's what I was going to say. You can use the trope over and over again. What makes the trope interesting is the characters that you build and how you play out the story. Because it's a classic trope of like the heroes versus the evil, and then sometimes switching the trope of like, yes, it's the evil person, but they're actually going for something good, right? So
you don't see a whole lot of movies about the Empire stomping down the evil resistance.
no, empires are always evil.
Wait a minute. No. That's not true. Pro-America Gulf War movies. They are stomping out the resistance fighters.
I just rolled my eyes in the back of my head.
No, but like seriously, those are the stories, and we root for them. The good guys are the ones that are putting the like. And I'm thinking specifically Gulf War or see, it's too much gray area for the Vietnam War, the Korean War, but like the idea of the freedom fight of the resistance and whatnot, going up against the big overwhelming army, and the West is the overwhelming army. We're rooting for our guys. That is a story that gets told, right? Like,
yeah, and it just reminded me of The Last of Us. I'm going video game, but I didn't play the video game. I watched the series.
Yep.
They all thought that they were the good guys, truly, but there was good guys versus good guys, like the resistance, the
Fireflies
The
turned out not to be good.
yeah. So
spoilers, I guess, for someone who hasn't played the game that's fucking over a decade old, but that's fine.
I feel like you don't have to give spoilers after a good solid 2 years.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying it with sarcasm. Get on the internet.
Are we rolling initiative again? That was number 15,
That was
right?
number 15.
Yep.
All right, let's roll. 15, 10, 12, 18, Miaca. All right.
God.
Who got the 10?
Casey.
All right, Casey, you're reading.
Okay, 16. If you could set a campaign, main or otherwise, in one actual ancient city from our world's history, where would you set it and why? And then there's other parts. And who would your big bad evil guy be? And what would the goal be? It's a big one.
Build a campaign for the world.
Oh my gosh. Alright, setting somewhere in Asia. That's where my mind
That is
goes.
a big, like, are we talking Genghis Khan? Or are we talking some sort of dynasty in China? Are we talking about samurai?
Specific dynasty in China. If we're gonna narrow it down. Big bad evil guy. Oh gosh. I don't know. I guess.
You are very familiar with the different dynasties in China before the... No?
No, like back in middle school, yeah, would have been able to say. But.
I have no idea. I've never known. Not
Me
once.
neither.
No.
Not sure about a big bad evil guy, and I'm not sure about a goal. I can't think on the spot like this.
Fair enough.
Under pressure, I can't do
It's
it.
a heavy question.
If you ask me in like an hour, I'll have something for you.
Fair.
I will.
I know you will.
I'll come at you with a microphone, so it's an hour later, Miaca. What about you, Adam?
Oh, shit, I was next. I would want complete free reign, so the city would be Atlantis.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And who would my big bad evil guy be? The guys who are going to sink Atlantis. And what would the goal be? Stop them.
Please do not sink Atlantis.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to pop all the balloons onto the island. It's going to sink. That is how islands work.
I love it. I would do Greece or Rome. And then I would do the big bad evil guys would be a lovely cult of all of the famous philosophers of Greek and Roman philosophy. But they get too big for their britches. So the goal is to stop them.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Aristotle and like Plato and like...
The original Illuminati.
Yeah.
Those are so good. I would want to have, I don't know what an actual ancient city would be. I would want to do an underwater one, or like on the sea.
You know what would be really good would be like through Indonesia and the Philippines. There's a lot of like mystical history in that region as well, and it's all very boats.
Yeah, like
and
where you're
jungle and stuff.
traversing by a boat and you're dealing with like serpents
Yeah.
and then you're dealing with like lush, like Amazon like
Now I want to watch Anaconda.
What a great film, eh?
The first one was great. I remember when Ice Cube was a movie star, and it was glorious for those 20 minutes.
Yeah, what a great timeline that was.
Which movie was it where the guy winks through the anaconda?
That's the end of the first one.
That's
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah, he
yes.
regurgitates John Voight, who then winks at us for some reason.
Yeah.
What a great
Love that.
feeling.
Yeah.
What's next, Casey?
All right. What are 3 things you wish would have happened in these 5 movies?
I'm not gonna come up with
So
15 things. Everybody grab one thing you wish would have happened.
Fair enough.
I wanted more flashbacks in the first movie specifically into like ancient Egypt. I would have liked there to be like more of a story build, I think.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I would have liked to have seen is Jonathan should have done something.
Something of importance. Yeah.
He had actions that were important in scenes.
Yeah.
And 0 impact on the overall storyline.
His impact was very much he did a thing, but it was by accident, and then it did a thing, and then he'd be like, I did that on purpose. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he just felt like C-3PO through that entire fucking series. And I really wanted him to do something.
Well, I mean, in the second movie, it was R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Yeah.
Because it was the child and...
Yeah, and the tall man, yeah.
The tall, skinny man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think I have anything that I would ask more for in that. I feel like I got all the tropes that I needed out of that one. I feel if you added anything else, it would be a little bit too much. Other than get rid of the child. That's all I want. It's not an additive. I need it removed.
Get rid of the boy.
Show me the baby.
Yeah, kind of going on what you said, Miaca, I think it could have been fun to have some flashbacks of, like, Evie's childhood
Yeah,
and
even
Rick's
that.
childhood. Like, how did Rick end up the way he was, and how did Evie end up... Like, they talked about it a little bit, but could have had some fun flashbacks and stuff.
Give us the backstory.
Even
The
some fun
backstories,
flashbacks
yeah.
of, like, their relationship between the first and the second movie. Because, like,
Yeah.
to Adam's point, they did a really good job of, like, establishing that they are a couple and they know each other really well. It would have been fun to see what that in-between time frame would have looked like here and there.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, I gotta ask, though, because we didn't touch on the reboot much. How do we fix it?
To get rid of it.
Just get rid of it altogether?
Yeah, I recast it, to be honest with you. Like, I just feel like the cast was a poor choice. And again, it was a product of the fact that they tried to use a lot of CG that, like, didn't pop off the way that I feel like it should have. And
I would also disconnect it from a cinematic universe so that we actually spend time in Egypt.
yes.
That would have been interesting. Because
Yeah.
most of it takes place in London.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, yes. That's where you go for Egyptian artifacts because the British steal everything. But, like, I would have liked to stay in the desert.
But the locations are my thing. Like, I
Yeah.
love the Mummy because you were in Egypt. I didn't much care for the Emperor, the Dragon Emperor, because it didn't feel like you were where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like,
We were up a mountain with Yetis.
don't even be
Oh, those fucking Yetis. Oh,
Sid!
fuck. I forgot about
I
the
totally
Yetis.
forgot that the Yetis were there.
Jesus.
Come on! So entertaining.
Lord.
We need backup. Bring in the Yetis.
Bring in the Yetis.
I'm like, what? Pardon? Is that what?
I can't believe we breezed past that through this entire episode so far.
I didn't hate them. It was just very entertaining.
It was a radically different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It leaned very much into the radical fantasy, and so did, I think, the Brad Pitt one. Is Brad Pitt?
No, it was Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I don't know. They're all the same person to me.
Whoa,
It's
whoa,
the-
whoa,
It's
whoa.
the same picture.
Whoa.
Same picture.
Same picture.
No.
Moving on.
He was about to
I don't want to. Do not pop off, my liege.
I am about to.
All right. Number 18. Do you often rewatch the movies, or is it more like an annual tradition for you in your lives, like watching V for Vendetta on the 5th of November type thing?
I would say no. Like if I see it's like on a streaming service, because you know how they have like new releases or like whatever, and I see it, I'll probably make a point to watch it, but it's not like a annual thing for me.
Fair enough.
I am at the point now with a lot of these movies that I know them so well. There are two kinds of movies. The ones I'm going to rewatch 10,000 times and the ones that I never need to watch again.
Mm-hmm.
The Mummy, I will watch 1,000,000 times. If it is available, even The Mummy Returns, I will sit in for the first 85% of that movie. And then I will walk away. As soon as they're through the jungle and they get into the pyramid at the end, I'm going to walk away. I don't need to see the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. All the fun stuff is before then. Like, okay, we also blew past the guy with the blimp. I really liked him.
Oh yeah.
Right. I liked him because he had an eye patch that didn't mean anything. And that was a lot of fun for me.
What a great character anecdote.
Yeah. So, but no, the rest of it, I'll watch it. When it comes time to introduce my own children to these movies that I grew up on, that are what I consider seminal movies, I'll be like, yeah, let's sit down and watch the first couple. And if you really like them, I can unleash you on the rest of them. But I will not sit down and watch. I will never going to watch Tom Cruise's The Mummy again.
You mean Brad Pitt's? Just kidding.
Oh, shit, that's two. There won't be a third.
I rewatch the first Mummy every year at some point in time. I have not rewatched the other ones. Like, if I see it on TV, yeah, I'll watch it. But I do not make a point of sitting down and be like, you know what? I think today's the day I'm going to rewatch The Scorpion King.
Even when I'm flipping through a Netflix catalog, I'm not going to catch it. But if there's a Saturday matinee on TV, the way that it was when I was a kid, and you're flipping channels,
like,
and you land on it, like, fuck yeah.
When I'm at home for Christmas and my parents only have cable, and you're just like, what is this? Oh, the Mummy! Like,
yeah.
Absolutely. And then you scroll ahead and it's like, oh, it's all of them in a row for the next 20
what a great
hours.
24 hours!
And then it restarts.
Yeah, 100%. That's my vibe.
Yeah, agreed. I would happily watch the first two many times, but I don't think I'll seek out these or like, you know, be like, I haven't watched these in a couple years. I'm gonna watch them. But those ones were my favorite.
What's your annual rewatch then? If it's a movie or TV show?
Twilight.
Jesus fuck. like legit?
Yeah, man.
Why?
Once a year, I will marathon all of them in one day. In fact, last year I did it twice.
You could just drink. It is okay.
No, man. Sometimes you just want to sit there and be in your fifis. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with that.
Okay, to be fair, I have never been the target demographic of that.
I am the target demographic for that.
So that to be fair, I am the last person you should ask. And also, I don't care.
I love that for you.
Yeah, sure. Like that's just not my jam. I get that, but there's got to be movies that I'm passionate about that other people don't give a shit about.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
They'd be wrong, but
We have a lot of movies in common that we've watched and loved.
yeah.
I think Twilight is just what separates me from you, and that's fine.
There are a couple other minor details, but like the beard. But
I'm trying.
I watch The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings
yeah,
time and time and time again. Probably 3 or 4 times a year. All the way through. Start to finish.
I couldn't. Yeah.
Miaca, what's your go-to? I know yours. Yours is The Office. You'll watch The Office over and over and over again.
The Office, yes.
Yeah.
Show.
All right. Which one was that?
That was 18. We got 2 more.
Oh my gosh. Okay, 19. Do you think that the adventure genre of movies was heavily influenced by this series or others like it, such as Indiana Jones, National Treasure, the ones we talked about?
Yeah, I feel like National Treasure is just like an updated, weird version of The Mummy. They just pulled some things out and like tweaked it a little bit, but yeah, like think about it.
Heavily influenced by this series? No.
No, I think it was influenced by other series.
Yeah, by
Like,
the
it's-
adventure serials of the 20s to
Yeah,
40s, right?
Seeking
Like,
treasure. That is kind of...
look, but like for the modern day, if you look at the millennial version, the Gen Z version of what the adventure genre is, yes, this is one of the seminal movies that relaunched the whole But Indiana Jones came first, right?
Yeah.
Romancing the Stone, Goonies, right? Like, we got a lot of these adventure-ish movies. Princess Bride, right? Like...
yeah, and you would think of those more so as influencing other movies.
Yeah.
Like, those influenced The Mummy, and The Mummy didn't influence those.
Yeah.
And that's for the adventure genre, but let's not forget, this started in the horror genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where its roots are, right? The old...
When the Alien series was coming out, Predator was coming out, like all those. Or...
No, I'm talking about the original black and white The Mummy.
Yeah.
Right? With, was that, Lon Chaney Jr.? I can't remember who it was now. It's been a while since I've seen those movies.
Yeah.
But, like, the really old classic, like, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy,
Got you.
right? The Wolfman, all of those movies.
The Thing, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, way back. That's where this got its roots from. So this came into the adventure genre as it was already established and just did a kick-ass job for a couple of movies, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why it failed in the reboot, was because they tried to return to the horror genre.
Yeah.
Have their
the
cake
world
and eat
wasn't
it
ready
too.
for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
All right, here's a question that Megan's been waiting for.
Get ready for it.
The most exciting question. Smash or pass the main characters of the first two movies? Thank you for just...
They're just the first two.
Thanks for just selecting the first two. Yeah, Miaca. You're first.
All right, hold on. Who are the characters?
Okay, there's Rick, Evie, Jonathan, Ardith. We're including Benny and Imhotep. And we should include...
Anoxunamun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
I say call out the character, and then I'll just say smash or pass.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So first is...
Rick.
Smash.
I mean, objectively, he is the most handsome man there.
Fair enough.
You'd be and so charismatic.
Yeah.
You're lying to yourself, even as a straight dude, if you're like, you wouldn't hit that.
Yeah. Or let it hit you, you know what I mean?
Do you need a minute?
Oh, we are adding the Scorpion King to this list.
Yeah, we can add Scorpion King, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, Evie.
Smash.
Jonathan. Smash.
I'd still smash it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pass. Sorry, can't do it.
He is going to focus on himself. He is not there for you.
Sometimes that's a king. We don't king shame.
I mean, fair. I just... Remember in the second movie when he shows up with whoever the debutante was and he's just lying and pretending that he's Rick?
Yeah.
That's pretty weaselly.
Yeah.
That's
fair.
pretty weaselly.
Fair.
If I was drunk enough, smash.
Ardith the Protector.
Smash.
Hold me aloft, my lord.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
smash me.
He has just the right level of facial hair. Like, he's got that... I don't know what it is.
But it's the activated curls for me. Just...
Yeah. And then, like, on a horse, too.
It's the eyes, too.
Just keeps getting better.
Like the classic romance male.
Yeah.
The accent as well.
He's on the cover of a Nora Roberts novel somewhere.
Yeah.
Benny.
Pass. This is my one.
Hard pass.
Hard pass.
Disarm. Keep him away.
Now, bear with me.
What? It's the voice for me, he says. Hard pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Imhotep.
Smash.
Smash.
Pass.
Easy.
Really?
What is it? Why?
I don't like his face. I don't.
But
Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't like his face.
I figured that he's not
attractive to me.
I think that he single-handedly brought dad bod to the general consciousness.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like oily dad bod. That man sweated
Yep.
every second of every movie. He gleamed.
Yeah.
I thought the CGI mummy was more attractive than him. I really did. Like,
Fair. You know what?
when I
Megan?
smashed the mummy.
Bless you.
Yeah. There you go, everybody.
Oh my
Blessing.
gosh. Okay, and finally, the Scorpion King. Let's decide it is the Scorpion King.
Pre or post Scorpion. Scorpification.
Or do we have...
Smash.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Because I was like, oh, we should split it up. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Smash.
Smash. With or without the scorpion bits.
Hey, man.
Well, you didn't do an Aksuna Moon either, though. It was a clear smash.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, an Aksuna Moon smash.
Yes.
Smash.
Yeah. She would run my show.
Agreed. All right. That was 20.
Did we miss anybody? I feel like that's all of them from the first two movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Unless you want to talk about the man in the blimp.
The Man in the Blimp, he was pretty funny. You'd have a good time with him.
I think so too.
You also have the Warden from the first movie.
Ugh.
Well, we know what that answer is, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, so that is all for this episode of It's a Mimic. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as dozens of other podcast apps. You can also email us at info@itsamimic.com or head over to www.itsamimic.com and support us by hitting the donate button or buying some merch, or just check out the wonderful episode guide that Casey builds for us every month. Thanks again for listening, and make sure to check out other mailbag episodes, as well as a long list of special series and unique topics. And you'll never know what you're going to get.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Smash.
So, there is one more question.
Oh.
And this is specifically for Megan.
For me?
Yeah. Now, this is not mummy related.
Okay.
We got a question for the mailbag, for the other mailbag that we're going to be releasing this month.
Yeah.
But you're not scheduled to be on that one, and it was specifically for you.
Oh, okay.
No one else can answer this.
Yeah.
And the wording of it is perfect.
Okay.
Groundbreaking Top 33 on Reddit says, this is actually for Megan. Over many episodes, you called someone a waffle twat.
Did I? Go on.
What exactly is a waffle twat? Also, would the person be described as being warm and fluffy or more sweet and sticky?
Okay, first of all, it's twat waffle.
Yeah.
And here's the history of twat waffle. So, I am terrible at cursing on a regular basis. I curse like a fucking sailor on a... It's just...
You don't say.
Yeah. And I got called out for using the "see you next Tuesday" word a lot on the podcast at one point way back in the day. It got removed.
We edited out a lot, and then we had to just bleep some because we couldn't
work around it. And so we had a conversation, Megan, you need to tone your shit down. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to do that. So I was like, so I just came up with a new way to say it, and that was where twat waffle came from.
Why waffle?
I don't know that answer, to be honest with you. Maybe because I found the sign language version of it to be hilarious.
It is pretty funny.
Yeah. So Dan taught me how to say twat waffle in sign language to make it even better when we're playing D&D at the D&D table. But how would I describe someone who is a twat waffle? They're definitely not fluffy. Yeah, I would say more warm and sticky would be a twat waffle. Yeah, just gross.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Who is the twat waffle in the Mummy movies?
Benji is a twat waffle.
Oh, Benny.
Benny, sorry.
Benny,
Benny.
yeah.
Benny is a twat waffle.
What makes him a twat waffle?
His voice.
Really, that's the thing.
I fucking hate
Not
his
the
voice.
double crossing,
No.
not the fake religion to get, which is actually one of my favorite scenes. As well.
Yeah, that
Pulling out
actually-
every religious
Yeah,
coin possible.
Yeah,
That's a good
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, he is definitely a twat waffle. The dude bros that opened the sarcophagus in the first place and then got blasted with fucking acid air, twat waffles.
Yeah.
Use your brain, guys. Come on. Like, I don't know. Anyone who's just inherently dumb, twat waffle. Yeah.
The kid.
The boy.
Right.
That's a little harsh for a child.
Right.
Oh.
And also,
It's more of a twat crepe.
I was about to say, we have now expanded on the use of twat waffle within our community. I learned twat pancake in sign language, and then also learned twat crepe recently in sign language. So I use all 3 now. So get ready for that.
Severity.
I would guess so. Pancakes, I feel like, are like less aggressive, and then crepes are like your fancy twats.
The fancy twat.
The fancy twats. But there's your origin story for twat waffle. Enjoy. Use respectively, or with all due disrespect, whatever you decide.
This podcast.
I suddenly feel like I don't. Did I watch these movies?
Oh my god!
I only watched the first
I will
two.
happily remind you.
Yeah. I've seen them all, but it's been a while for Scorpion King because I just couldn't.
Could not even go back to that one.
Oh, I binge watched all of them in the last week.
Did you?
Yes.
Where'd you,
So that's why.
Where'd you find them?
I have a button on my remote, and I just said The Mummy, and then it searches all of the
Tells you what
streams.
app it's on. Yeah.
And the only one I had to pay for was the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Amazing.
I had to rent it for $4.99.
Worth every
48
penny.
hours. But all the other ones I had somewhere.